I did 3 years vice in L-5. Do you have any idea what it was like? They were shit.
Make a U-turn at South Tucson Boulevard to stay on.
The core was full guns. Old style ships holding tables and shit. Frog. He chose a bluff masculinity here. It was just as much a pose.
You see the trains that plug over here?
So, Havelock said his hubby,
Not really.
Kate, a 4th generation for the same bar, left the table.
Is that what you're looking for over there?
Those are the trains over there.
Well, I can't get over there.
Put you on?
Is that what you're looking
Or is
for?
the lowly earther not supposed
This
to know?
one looking.
Is that what got to you? Miller asked. It's nothing. Some shareholders misplaced their daughter and want me to track her down, ship her home. It's a bullshit case. Sounds more like their backyard, Havelock said, nodding toward the V&E crowd. Kid's not a minor, Miller said. It's a kidnap job. And you're good with that?
Looks like the Casa Grande hauler's gonna be moving or something.
Havelock waited, and Miller had the uncomfortable sense that a table had just been turned. It's my job, Miller said. Yeah, but we're talking about an adult here, right? It's not like she couldn't go back home if she wanted to be there. But instead, her parents get security to take her home, whether she wants to go or not. That's not law enforcement anymore. It's not even station security. It's just dysfunctional families playing power games. Miller remembered the thin girl beside her racing pits, her broad smile. They told you it was a bullshit case, Miller said. Kate Liu returned to the table with a local beer and a glass of whiskey on her tray. Miller was glad for the distraction. The beer was his, light and rich and just the faintest bit bitter. An ecology based on yeasts and fermentation meant subtle brews. Havelock was nursing his whiskey. Miller took it as a sign that he was giving up on his bender. Nothing like being around the boys from the office to take the charm out of losing control. Hey, Miller! Havelock! A familiar voice said. Yevgeny Cobb from Homicide. Miller waved him over and the conversation turned on settlement and a gray market
moving over there, huh?
Yep.
By the end of the night,
It's a GP38. 835s now, 835. And it's pulling 2 SD40Ns.
if there was occasionally a narrow glance,
5216 and 4255.
was on his way up to the bar for another round when his terminal chimed.
It's a locomotive to pull that one car.
Slowly throughout the bar,
Well, it's a switching. It's a yard where locomotive switch. That means
Miller felt his
that means sometimes there will be little to no cars, but later there will be more. Usually there will be SD40Ns.
I wasn't really interested.
Her eyes were bleary.
There's usually SD40Ns
You to tell me.
She was the
pulling
very
it.
picture of a woman of power, wakened early from sleep.
GPA really not.
It's nothing. Some shareholders know the milk better.
He keeps spelling words.
Having a bigger one.
Spelling E.
Maybe soccer's better in full G. Maybe it's worse. I don't know. CN? He asked.
There's the GP38 right there.
Navy often passed through Ceres on its way to Saturn, Jupiter, and the stations of the belt. But Miller hadn't been paying enough attention to the relative position of the planets to know where the orbits all stood. Havelock shook his head. Corporate security rotating out of Eros, he said. Protogen, I think. A serving girl appeared at Miller's side, tattoos gliding over her skin, her teeth glowing in the black light. Miller took the drink she offered him, though he hadn't ordered. Soda water. You know, Miller said, leaning close enough to Havelock that even his normal conversational voice would reach the man. It doesn't matter how many of their asses you kick. Shadid's still not going to like you. Havelock snapped to stare at Miller. The anger in his
593 and 8.
Shame and hurt.
One of the locomotives was actually in another
Say,
yard
I
early.
don't need to hear it,
Havelock
okay?
rose
I'm trying to listen to
to his
this.
feet and headed for the door. He was trying to stop, but in the series spin gravity and his inebriated state, he misjudged. It looked like he was hopping. Miller, glass in hand, slid through the crowd in Havelock's wake, calming with a smile and a shrug the affronted faces that his partner left behind him. The common tunnels down near the port had a layer of grime and grease to them that air scrubbers and astringent cleaners could never quite master. Havelock walked out, shoulders hunched, mouth tight, rage radiating from him like heat. But the doors of the Blue Frog closed behind them. The seal cutting
Here comes
off
a
the
truck.
music like someone hitting mute. The worst of the danger had passed. "I'm not drunk," Havelock said, his voice too loud. "Didn't say you were."
car.
"And you,"
The Lima Whiskey
Havelock said,
495
turning and stabbing an accusing
483.
finger at Miller's chest. "You are not my nanny." Also coffee bars and poetry clubs. Casinos and show fights. The air smelled like piss and old food. Havelock began to slow, his shoulders coming down from around his ears. "I worked homicide in Tarrytown," Havelock said. "I did 3 years vice at L-5. Do you have any idea what that was like?" They were shocked. "I'm a good cop."
Barely dropped 5
"Yes, you
pounds.
are. I'm damn good." "You are." They walked past a noodle bar. A car in Mars. Belt titanium cones glowed in Havelock's eyes, but he was staring past them. "I'm a damn good cop," he said again. Then, a moment later, "So what the hell?" "It's not about you," Miller said. "People look at you, they don't see Dmitri Havelock, good cop. They see Earth. That's crap. I was 8 years in the orbitals and on Mars before I ever shipped out here. I worked on Earth maybe 6 months total.
Down 6 rail.
Earth, Mars, they're not that different," Miller said.
You'll need top of the 20 dollars.
"Try telling that to a Martian," Havelock said with a bitter laugh. "They'll kick your ass for you." "I didn't mean... Look, I'm sure there are all kinds of differences. Earth hates Mars for having a better fleet. Mars hates Earth for having a bigger one. Maybe soccer's better in full G, maybe it's worse. I don't know. I'm just saying, anyone this far out from the sun, they don't care.
42 ITU, was it GP38-2s, over?
One thumb. And I don't belong," Havelock said. The door of the noodle bar behind them opened, and 4 belters in gray-green uniforms came out. One of them wore the split circle of the OPA on his sleeve. Miller tensed, but the belters didn't come toward them, and Havelock didn't notice them. Near miss. "I knew," Havelock said, "when I took the Star Helix contract, I knew I'd have to work to fit in. I thought it'd be the same as anywhere, you know? You go, you get your chops busted for a while, then when they see you can take it, they treat you like one of the team. It's not like that here."
Has authority to pass signal displaying stop indication. Main track 2 to control setting 2, westbound, over.
Stared at the fluted glass in his hand. "I think we just stole some glasses from the Blue
Turning
Frog."
back here and
Havelock said.
over 80, and I'm clear.
"We're also in a public
Alright, we'll
corridor
try
with unsealed alcohol," Miller said. "Well, you are anyway. Mine's soda water."
One, that is correct, over.
And soda water. Havelock chuckled, but there was despair in the sound. When Havelock spoke again, his voice was only rueful. "You think I'm coming to taste his fluted glass. Take these back?" he asked. "How about distinguished hyacinth?" Miller countered. "I'll buy." The distinguished hyacinth lounge was up 3 levels, far enough that foot traffic from the port levels was minimal. And it was a cop bar. Secret Forces, Protogen, Pinkwater, Al-Beak hung out there too. Miller was more than half certain that his partner's latest breakdown had been averted, but if he was wrong, better to keep it in the family. The decor was pure belt. Old-style ship's folding tables and chairs set into the wall and ceiling as if the gravity might shut off at any moment. Snake plant and devil's ivy, staples of first-generation air recycling, decorated the wall and freestanding columns. The music was soft enough to talk over, loud enough to keep private conversations private. The first owner, Javier Yo, was a structural engineer from Tycho who'd come out during the big spin and liked Siri and liked series enough to stay. His grandchildren ran it now. Javier III was standing behind the bar, talking with half of the vice and exploitation team. Miller led the way to a back table, nodding to the men and women he knew as he passed. While he'd been careful and diplomatic at the Blue Frog, he chose a bluff masculinity here. It was just as much a pose. A fourth generation for the same bar, left the table, Blue Frog glasses on her tray. What is this super-secret private investigation Shadid put you on? Or is the lowly earther not supposed to know? Is that what got to you?
You see the train you wanted to see?
Miller had job. And you're good with that? Miller sat back. The ivy above them waved. Havelock waited, and Miller had the uncomfortable sense that a table had just been turned.
Oh, it's moving again.
It's my job, Miller said. Yeah, but we're talking about an adult here, right? It's not like she couldn't go back home if she wanted to be there. But instead, her parents get security to take her. It's not even station security. It's just dysfunctional families playing power games. Miller remembered the thin girl beside her racing pinnace. Her broad smile. I told you it was a bullshit case.
Now there's no cars on it, just 3 locomotives.
The other one's still down
Kate
there.
Yo returned to the table with a local beer and a glass
Oh, yeah,
of
that's
whiskey
right.
on her tray. Miller was glad for the distraction. The beer was his, light and rich and just the faintest bit bitter. An ecology based on yeasts and fermentation meant subtle brews. Havelock was nursing his whiskey. Miller took it as a sign that he was giving up on his bender. Nothing like being around the boys from the office to take the charm out of losing control. Hey, Miller! Havelock! A familiar voice said. Yevgeny Cobb from Homicide. Miller waved him over, and the conversation turned to Homicide's bragging about the resolution of a particularly ugly case. 3 months' work figuring out where the toxins came from, ending with the corpse's wife awarded the full insurance settlement and a gray market whore deported back to Eros. By the end of the night, Havelock was laughing and trading jokes along with the rest of them. If there was occasionally a narrow glance or a subtle dig, he took it in stride. Miller was on his way up to the bar for another round when his terminal chimed. And then, slowly throughout the bar, 50 other chimes sounded. Miller felt his belly numb. Another security agent in the place pulled out their terminals. Captain Shadid was on the broadcast screen. Her eyes were bleary and filled with banked rage. She was the very picture of a woman of power, wakened early from sleep. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, "whatever you're doing, drop it and go to your stations for emergency orders. We have a situation. 10 minutes ago, an unencrypted, signed message came in from the rough direction of Saturn. But we can assume some asshole's going to put it on the network, and the shit should hit the fan about 5 minutes after that. If you're in earshot of a civilian, turn off now. For the rest of you, here's what we're up against." Shadid moved to one side, tapping her system interface. The screen went black. A moment later, a man's face and shoulders appeared. He was in an orange vacuum suit with a helmet off. An earther, maybe in his early 30s. Pale skin, blue eyes, dark, short-cropped hair. Even before the man opened his mouth, Miller saw the signs of shock and rage in his eyes, and the way he held his head forward. "My name," the man said, "is James Holden." Chapter 5. Holden. 10 minutes at 2G, and Holden's head was already starting to ache. But McDowell had called them home at all haste. The Canterbury was warming up its massive drive. Holden didn't want to miss his ride. "Jim, we may have a problem out here. Talk to me. Becca found something, and it's sufficiently weird to make my balls creep up. We're getting the hell out of here." "Alex, how long?" Holden asked for the third time in 10 minutes. "We're over an hour out. Want to go on the juice?" Alex said. Going on the juice was pilot speak for a high-G burn that would knock the unmedicated human unconscious. The juice
When
was
you're
the
ready, I don't know if you
cocktail
guys already
drugs
got
the
the
pilot's
EOG,
chair
I
would
can give it to
inject
you as
into
well.
him to keep him conscious on multiple occasions in the Navy.
We gotta go, Shane.
Coming down afterward was unpleasant. Gray-black, false color gradually developing a warm border. It was a small temperature climb, less than 2 degrees. Holden was amazed Becca had even spotted it. He reminded himself to give her a glowing review the next time she was up for promotion. "Where did that come from?" Holden asked.
In 500
"No idea.
feet, turn
It's
right
just a
onto
spot
South
faintly
Campbell
warmer than the
Avenue.
background," Becca said. "I'd say it was a cloud of gas because we get no radar return from it. But there aren't
1545's
supposed
here
to be any
too.
gas clouds out here. I mean, where would it come from? Jim, any chance the scapulae killed the ship that killed it? Could it be a vapor cloud from a destroyed ship?" McDowell asked. "I don't think
Now
so,
turn
sir.
right
The
onto
scapulae
South
is
Campbell
totally
Avenue.
unarmed.
Speaking here.
The hole in her side